Well, it's the second consecutive final for Lahore, and that too in Lahore. The winning runs by Shaheen Shah Afridi. What a win for Lahore Qalandars. They have made it to the finals yet again. Jubilation all round by Atif Rana. Disappointing for Babar Azam and his men. They've done well, but it wasn't good enough in the end. What a performance. We've seen some contributions today from all the players today from Lahore Qalandars. Sam Billings is definitely one of them who's contributed in a winning cause. Just a quick reminder of how things went. Peshawar Zalmi opted to bat and they made 171 for 5 in their 20 overs. Haris was the top scorer for them. It was a fantastic knock by him. But in response, the player development program player Tahir Beg was the top scorer. He made 54 in 42 contributions from the rest. And in the end, Qalandars winning by 4 wickets. What a treat for the fans in Lahore here. They've won yet again and they've made it to the final. They won last year. They are the defending champions. All that pressure aside, it was a brilliant performance with the bat and the ball. And with me in the studio, I've got a very, very special guest. Sam Billings joins us alongside Nick Knight. Sam, welcome to the pit side. It's great to have you here. Firstly, congratulations. This is the second time in a row that Lahore Qalandars have made it to the finals. Yeah, opening thoughts from you. How do you feel about making it to the finals once again?
Yeah, good performance. As players, yeah, you want to be involved in finals. You want to be winning competitions. So, yeah, I don't think we played our best cricket the last couple of games, but when it's a sign of a good side, when people are stepping up and you put in a good performance to get the result when you need it.
Your own contribution, just in the context of things, was extremely important. It wasn't ever going to be easy chasing here because we've seen what the venue stats are like. Batting first is much more easier. Just in that sense, I mean, what was it like out there?
Yeah, Tahir was playing beautifully, wasn't he? Really timing the ball nicely. I think with these pitches, especially at the moment, it's about getting those partnerships together, and it's amazing how momentum can shift so rapidly. So we saw last night, as soon as a couple of wickets went down, Islamabad really struggled to get that momentum back. So kind of managing that middle phase of the game, you can lose the game, but you can't win the game in that middle phase. So it's just kind of playing smart cricket, getting those partnerships together, and we know that with the power we've got at the back end, that we can really kind of see the game through. So, like I said, ideally I would have liked to be there at the end, and Tahir the same, but it's just managing that period in the middle.
Well done. What do you reckon the key moment was for you, winning that game?
Oh, I think maybe that free hit that didn't get given in the first innings. Well, I think we got away with that one. That Fakir caught on the boundary. But yeah, I think Tahir, when he really got that big over after the timeout, he went 4-4-6. And just kind of the change of the momentum was really good then. When
you were batting with Sikandar out there, what were you talking about? Did you feel confident? How were you trying to get yourself over the line? Yeah, Sikandar plays his best when he's really positive, and so his role is always to really put that kind of intent into the game. So for me, that scenario was about seeing the game through and being the experienced head at the other end. And is that what you talked about at the timeout? Because you had a little bit of a time to discuss there. Was that the sort of thing you discussed then?
That was with Tahir at the time, yeah. For him to keep on playing that natural game, that really positive game, like he did until he probably got out. But for me, it was about taking the game as deep as possible, and I didn't need to, but just managing when the rate does tend to go up, I would have needed to kind of assess and really put the momentum down for me as well. So it was just, I didn't need to today, but it was just trying to manage the game there.
Let's be honest.
That made sense, by the way.
Yeah, we got you. Yeah. Let's be honest, bowling's not been great, as you say, I think, at the start. How will Shaheen, what sort of captain is he? Will he sort of haul the troops in and say we've got to do this better, blah, blah, or will he just sort of move on to tomorrow and hope it goes better? What sort of captain is he?
He's been brilliant, I think, throughout the whole course of the competition. First time he's bowled 3 overs at the start of the power play today. And I think we've been over-eager to try and get those wickets. Yeah. We know it's swung, and we know actually it's done quite a bit with the new ball, when actually just top of the stumps, hitting a really good hard length, nice and straight, really works well. He made Baba play a miss early, and I think we're just going searching for it at the start. So They were 104, I think, after 11 overs, and we did brilliantly to peg them back. We're brilliant at the end. I think as long as, and against a top quality side tomorrow, we really need to start well as well.
You were leading the chats at some point, as we picked up, that you were doing all the team chats at half point. What were you saying?
Well, we had a really good batters meeting yesterday, and it's all about, especially on this wicket as opposed to Rawalpindi, where you need to go in and just really attack the game at Rawalpindi. Today, well, on this wicket, you can't do that. There's an element of batsmanship. You need to bat in partnerships, and it's about momentum and wrestling that momentum back when it's out of your grasp. And yeah, I think a bit more thinking on this type of wicket as opposed to just skill and attacking the whole time.
You're playing Multan tomorrow. That is a huge one because it's a repeat of what we saw last year, Lahore Qalandars versus Multan Sultans. Different opposition though altogether. They're also looking really good on paper. They've got a bit of momentum going. I mean, what kind of strategy do you discuss? When you look at the oppositions, everybody's got their own strengths and weaknesses. So up against Multan, I mean, how do you rate them and how do you think you're going to prepare against somebody like them?
They're a very good team. I'm not going to give too many secrets away, but yeah, it's a great point. We didn't play well enough the other day, so in terms of our plans, in terms of our thinking, yeah, we're clear on how we wanted to put that right the other day. Like I said, we had some really good meetings yesterday, just around that clarity and the roles within the team. So yeah, hopefully you'll see a very different side to the other day.
Also, just on Tahir Beg, you know, he was given opportunities at the start as well of the tournament, but he's come through at a very, very important time, just when you needed him to come through. So it shows that Qalandars has this belief in their players, regardless of what kind of form they're in. Is that the mood in the camp as well?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, when he gets going and hits the cricket ball, it's beautiful to watch, really languid. It's an amazing story. No first-class cricket, no real kind of professional cricket under his belt. So to come in the tournament and play like that, he's really disappointed not to see the game through with the shot he played. But, I mean, everything up until that point was brilliant. And he felt a little bit under pressure when we were out there, and you could sense the emotion running ABD out and just trying to calm him down and have that experience and just to really just relax and keep playing his way. And he'll take a huge amount of learning tonight. The way he played and in a situation like that was amazing. So huge, I mean, amazing talent. He hits balls where shouldn't go for four, and he hits them so crisply. So yeah, definitely a huge talent to watch.
And Shaheen, just at the toss, he was saying that he would have opted to bowl first as well, considering all the rain around and everything. The venue starts.
I think he's lying. I think he. Yeah, I think he was playing a few mind games because he lost the toss.
Right, so just for all the teams, Multan, if you're playing tomorrow, you should know that Shaheen has a few tricks up his sleeve and he plays a bit. But just in terms of, I mean, we're talking about Lahore as a venue and how it favours the teams batting first. I mean, is it easy to chase? You've just been there, done that. And you spoke about how it sort of gets difficult in the middle. But just in terms of the conditions and how the wicket plays, does it get tougher?
Yeah, without a doubt, it definitely changes. The characteristics of the pitch definitely do change at the halfway stage. There was only one game, I think I said to you today, there was one game against Zalmi actually in the group stage where the dew came in and it felt like the wicket got better. Apart from that, it definitely has changed and got harder to bat. Like I said, don't get me wrong, we played nicely tonight, but I think they certainly helped with the bowling, and Wahab being a huge miss with his hamstring as well, with only really 4.5 bowlers to kind of bowl. Yeah, that was a huge turning point in the game as well. So yeah, as well as we played, I think it's just taking the learnings from tonight, and we might have to chase again, but if we keep our kind of game plan and that real clarity, I think we'll give ourselves a good chance.
All right, I'm not going to keep you here on that note. You can go back to your ice baths, you know, just relax there because you don't have much time. You have to come back here in 24 hours and deliver a good one as well. Thank you so much, Sam, for being here. It's always a pleasure having you here. Nick, you got to stay here because we've still got...
I've not got to go to the ice bath. Really good news. Those days are
long gone.
Long gone. Those days are long gone, thankfully. But yeah, we're talking about Lahore Qalandars, we're talking about Peshawar Zalmi. Perhaps not the best bowling performance, but in terms of their batting, they definitely had one star. He's been the most consistent performer for them this HBL PSL. I'm talking about Mohammad Haris. He's also our master blaster for today.
Well, he played terrifically well again. He's found some good form. He had a bit of a blip in the middle of the tournament, but he's found some good form, some wonderful shots, super timer of the ball. And batting, let's be honest, on this pitch wasn't straightforward, and he's perhaps one of the players that made batting, well, fluency a little bit more straightforward than most.
Yeah, it was a magnificent innings by Mohammad Haris, but you got to say it was in a losing cause, of course. But Peshawar Zalmi, they're going to look back tonight and think that they made quite a few errors, which we can talk more in detail with, because I've now been joined by Mark Butcher. Butch, firstly, let's talk about Lahore. How good were they? We can get to Peshawar Zalmi later. I mean, where do you think Lahore, what do you think they went right today? What went right for them today?
I think they started off nervously. Which is not what you expect when the captain is Shaheen Shah Afridi. He's got the ball in his hand. You expect him to set the tone. It didn't work out for them that way. But I thought they really dragged it back beautifully in the second half of their bowling innings, the last 10 overs, to restrict them to 170. And then with the bat, I think there was a calmness about the chase. You imagine that Fakhar gets out early. Everyone's talking about, well, if Fakhar doesn't score the runs, no one is going to score the runs, and all that sort of panicky talk around Lahore Qalandars when they're chasing. He got out early. Sam Billings played a really good hand, I thought. You know, he was just in here now. He always speaks superbly, but I thought his innings was very, very important. Sikandar Raza at the end, he's such an underrated cricketer. So they have this sort of core of very experienced players. They might not have the sort of like the big name batters in their side, but they have a core of experienced players. If they do have to chase tomorrow in the final, that if they get their game plan right and they're not chasing too many, still makes them a very dangerous side. But of course they would still love to defend, you know, bat first and defend ideally in an ideal world. But sport is not an ideal world, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Nick, you heard Sam Billings talk about the fact that Zalmi's bowling obviously helped in terms of them with that chase. Wahab Riaz down, he was obviously struggling. So, I mean, do you think their bowling is what let them down today?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, you clearly look at the batting side and think, you know what, I'd love another 15 runs. If Mohammad Haris had stayed in for another couple of overs, he was out with 2 to go, they might have got 185, and you're thinking, yeah, that might have been the difference. Do you know what I thought the difference was? And Sam kind of alluded to it. I think they got a bit confused on yesterday. They bowled Yorkers, and I think today they thought Yorkers again, and actually it was into the pitch. And I don't think they bowled enough slow balls into the pitch. And I think Sam alluded there, they would have found that a lot harder. I think they were almost victims of their success yesterday. We're in that situation, we'll do the same again today, and it wasn't quite the surface to do that. That's the only area I would say they can perhaps, you know, learn from what they did with the ball in hand.
Well, we're talking about surfaces. If there's any team that does well on the surface, it's Lahore Qalandars. They feature in our stat attack today. All right, Qalandars seem to love playing in Lahore. This validates that claim actually, because they won 15 out of the 23 matches that they've played. It is actually Lahore Qalandars' fortress. What a win for Lahore Qalandars then. They face Multan Sultans tomorrow in the grand finale. But we're going to take a short break and we'll be back and discuss this match in more detail. So don't go anywhere. Well, we've been talking about the fact that Fakhar Zaman needs a partner on the other end. They've tried a few things, Lahore Qalandars, Shahwez Irfan, Tahir Beg. And Tahir Beg is somebody who's come through the player development program for them. For someone who's not even played first-class cricket, this was a top knock. Let's have a look at the player of the match.
Really important innings. Lost Fakhar Zaman early in the piece. Opened his account with this magnificent strike over extra cover. sort of got himself into a sort of a standing position, slightly on the front foot on those pull shots, and was very, very tough on anything that was wide of the stumps. He did chew up a few deliveries in the middle part of the innings and accelerated when he was with Sam Billings. It was a top knock.
We've seen the Lahore Qalandars pacers in action. Shaheen Shah Afridi, Haris Rauf, Zaman Khan is somebody who's done well for them as well. But Rashid Khan is the one who got 2 wickets in that over, and he features in our switched on moment of the day.
Well, if Shaheen Shah Afridi, Zaman Khan and Haris Rauf don't get you, this little man will. And that's been a problem a little bit for Baba throughout this tournament. He bowls a terrific length, and he just mixes up his pace. And too often, or more often, he's too good for most batsmen.
Just on Tahir Beg then, I mean, it's quite a story. We've seen Haris Rauf come through the exact same process, not having played any first-class cricket or domestic, and then now you're finding somebody like Tahir Beg, who's a batsman. But it's just nice to see that Lahore Qalandars has started this initiative where you've got players coming through.
Yeah, and it's the way that a lot of the franchises around the world are starting to go. As they become more invested in, in their own players and sort of producing their own talent, they start to use that reach that they have and the financial clout that in places they have as well to sort of go out there and find guys for themselves. And it's an interesting route into the game. It's not the one that Nick and I would have known, as you get picked up by your county and you play all forms of the game. But as T20 cricket starts to take over and proliferate around the world, that is the way that things are going. So look, it's wonderful that these teams feel that they have the necessary resources to be able to go out there into the corners of the country and find players like that, develop them themselves, and then put them out there in the shop window in the PSL.
Also, have the confidence to play what Hassan Bath give a guy a debut in a big game like this. You know, they have the confidence because they know he's been through the system, they know how good he is, and then they know he's going to be able to cope with a situation like this. So it doesn't really matter that this is a massive game with a heck of a lot on it. We believe you can do it in any sort of game. So I think that sort of feeder system that they're producing is helping confidence that these players can go and do it on any stage.
What does Qalandars need to watch out for tomorrow?
Everything. I mean, you know, Multan Sultans for me are the most rounded team in the tournament. Does that mean they're going to win it? No, it doesn't mean they're going to win it, but it does mean that they produce a lot of challenges for this Lahore Qalandars side. They've got batting depth. You know, Usman Khan, now the fastest century maker in the history of the tournament. Rizwan at the top. Russo, Pollard, Kushtil, David in the middle order. Bowling resources to die for, and Abbas Afridi, Isanullah. Sheldon Cottrell swung them the other night. Salman Mir, the leg spinner, has been just as effective as Rashid Khan throughout. So they are a fantastic team. So you're asking me where they need to look out? They need to look out everywhere. And hopefully win the toss and bowl second.
It's interesting Butch says batting depth. I mean, I know where he's going, but I see it slightly differently in the sense that if Lahore Qalandars bowl well, I think they might be a batter light. I think that's where the game might hinge, because you've got the brilliance of Shaheen Shah. I know he's not had a great couple of games, but you look at the strength that they have with the ball, and you look at Rizwan and Usman Khan, and then you look at, I always feel with Multan at the moment, they're trying to make sure that they get that batting lineup absolutely in the right spot at the right time. And if you find them 2 or 3 down early, if that happens, then that's going to kind of put a bit of a kibosh on their plan, because I feel they are slightly light with the bat. But if Mohammad Rizwan plays like he did the other day, and Usman Khan, I mean, he barely raised his bat in anger the other day, having got the fastest HBL PSL 100 a couple of days before. So that was clearly a strategy that they employed. Now, if that strategy doesn't work, it just makes them a little vulnerable. And I think that's where the game might hinge.
Maybe. The only thing I will say is that Multan Sultans are almost as good a bowling lineup as Lahore Qalandars as well. So not only do they have that sort of batting pedigree, maybe even if they are a batter light, their bowling is just as potent, I think. So that's what makes them a very, very tough proposition.
And what makes Lahore a very tough proposition is that they can be quite mercurial as well. Gloomy at the start and then towards the end, all smiles. Just in terms of the roller coaster of emotions, when you look at Lahore Qalandars, they are a very passionate bunch of people. And that comes right from the top, starting from their owner, Atif Rana and Samin Rana, and then you've got Shaheen as a captain, who's quite an emotional guy. It's just nice to see the ebbs and flows of cricket, and this team has been the flag bearer of that. All right, we're talking about Lahore Qalandars, we're talking about Peshawar Zalmi. Also need to reflect upon what kind of journey they've had only after the short break. Magnificent victory for Lahore Qalandars, and they will be progressing towards the final, which is against Multan Sultans. I've now been joined by Arooj Mumtaz. Arooj, we've spoken a lot about Lahore just before the break. So just on Zalmi then, I mean, I spoke to Babar Azam and he was mentioning the fact that he felt that they lost momentum in the middle with the bat, and also their bowling was not good enough. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Where do you feel they lost the game today?
I think Haris's wicket, good catch by Fakhr Zaman. I think had Haris stayed out for the last couple of overs, they could have probably added 10, 15 runs, maybe again, but that could have been the difference. But their bowling, which was a standout yesterday, they couldn't just execute their plans. The ball wasn't moving as much as we saw yesterday. Also, I thought that Salman, Irshad and Amir tried a little bit too much rather than going to what was working well, and just that allowed for experience like Sam Billings, David Visa, Sikandar Raza to do what they do best.
Yeah, you're talking about them, trying the same things that we saw them try yesterday. That's what Nick Knight was also pointing out, that perhaps a change of plans was required today. Anyway, let's have a look at the fall of wickets of Peshawar Zalmi.
Yeah, an impressive tournament, but not tonight for Saim Ayub. He just played back to a foolish delivery. A second one, Babar Azam, well, he's had his problems with the wrong one. A decision reviewed, which was correct. Simple cotton bowler, Rashid Khan, so often than not, he's the cause for concern for the opposition. That was the wicket that I was mentioning in terms of maybe adding 15 or 20 runs. Mohammad Haris, good catch by Fakhr Zaman. That was Shaheen Shah Afridi's only wicket. And the last one then, well, cleaned up into the stumps for Zaman Khan.
All right, just a quick reminder of how things went in terms of their bowling. Shaheen Shah Afridi, he got one wicket. It wasn't his best day, actually. Zaman Khan got a couple of wickets as well. Rashid Khan is always amongst the wickets. I mean, this whole bowling attack looks absolutely lethal. And one of the reasons why it does look that lethal is because they've got plenty of pace up their sleeve. You're looking at Haris Rauf, you're looking at Shaheen Shah Afridi. They've just got so many options. So let's see who makes it to the fastest delivery of the day.
Yeah, once again, it's Haris Rauf who finds himself at the top of the charts for pace. He got a lot of slower balls as well today, and sometimes the difference between the very fastest 148 and the slowest 124 was devastating stuff. He's a magnificent bowler and athlete.
Just reflecting on Zalmi's performance for this season, Butch, I mean, how would you sum up their journey?
I think they did okay. I mean, you know, they've got a new captain there in Babar. They had to chop and change a little bit through the middle part. They didn't really settle upon a bowling lineup until right towards the very end. And even then, you know, they had those two horror games, didn't they, in Rawalpindi, where they allowed the opposition to chase more than 240 twice. And so I suppose at the end of it all, I think for the fact that they managed to get themselves up to eliminated 2 constitutes a successful season, really. And they can build on that for sure next year. I think they're a really good side. They've got some fabulous young players there, particularly in the bowling department. And if they can just bolster that with a couple more banker run getters, then they're going to be right up there again next year.
Yeah, and they are under the leadership of Babar Azam. You've got young players. Saim Ayub is definitely one of the stars that Peshawar Zalmi has seen this year. But we're talking about performances. Catching is one area which has slightly improved as the tournament has progressed. We've seen an odd catch dropped here and there, but let's see who features in our safe hands for the day.
Yeah, never easy, the ones that go into the sky, because you get time to think about them. Fakhar Zaman, very, very safe, but he also had to make sure he didn't step over the boundary. And it was the important wicket of Mohammad Haris. Extremely well judged and very, very calm.
Well, actually, Sam Billings mentioned earlier on that he seemed to think that this was a no ball that they missed on.
Well, there was a couple of things that Sam Billings was involved in, including what Mark Butch thinks that could have been appealed when he took the run out and took the big long turn. So, well, if they've missed it, right? But they still come out on the winning side. So I don't think Sam Billings will be too disappointed.
It was a good contribution, though. You know, talking about his knock, Sam Billings. I mean, that's the one area where we've spoken about. Lahore Qalandars needs players in that batting department to step up. Earlier on, it was very much heavy reliance on just Fakhar Zaman to fire for them to be able to chase down totals. But today, they've managed to do it pretty well.
Yeah, and I also think that, you know, that they've lost, what was it, 4 out of 4 chasing up until today,
Yep.
right? And so they had to have a bit of a think about what might happen should we not win the toss and we end up doing what we don't want to do. And I think what we saw today was them be just a lot calmer about how they were going to go and chase it down. You know, Fakhar was out early. They didn't have him to rely on to get them off to a flying start, but they just stayed around, hovered around the rate, gave themselves a chance to give Visa and Raza and those guys a chance to finish the game off. And I think Billings' hand was absolutely pivotal. And Ruji's absolutely right. If I'm playing against Sam Billings and he's Kent and I'm Surrey, I'm appealing for him obstructing the field all day long. I cannot believe that he got away with that. I can't believe it. There was the most blatant case of obstructing the field I have ever seen, but never mind.
Right. Butch being as blunt and honest as he could ever be. But on that note, there's been a bit of a drizzle going on here as well. But we'll take a short break and we'll be back with all the reactions of the fans. Back on the pitch side show, I've now been joined by 2 unknown entities for a while. I would rather call them unknown entities. Back with the smiles as well. What's it like to be under the umbrella?
It's like being at home.
Yeah, I was going to say, it feels home for you, doesn't it? What about you, Rooj? It doesn't feel home for you. Karachi doesn't have any rain, does it?
You really want to start with Karachi, Lahore?
No, I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to get into it. But what I am going to get into is the reaction of the fans in the ringside view.
फील्डिंग सबसे ज़्यादा देखी जाती है लाहौर कलंदर की फील्डिंग बहुत आउटस्टैंडिंग थी और जैसे कि उन्होंने कैचेस पकड़े और फील्डिंग भी में रन स्कोर होने से बचाए हैं वो सबसे मैच टर्निंग पॉइंट था
आज पेशावर ज़ल्मी ने बहुत अच्छा खेला लेकिन हार गया कोई बात नहीं आइंदा साल के लिए जीतेगा
इंशाल्लाह हम लोग फाइनल में चले गए और हम इस दफ़ा ट्रॉफी जीत कर ही आएंगे हमेशा की तरह लाहौर कलंदर बेस्ट ऑफ लक
मीनवाइल लगा था कि थोड़ा सा डाउन होंगे बट एंड पे वीजे ने आके और वो ताई ने बहुत अच्छा खेला और बड़ा अच्छा मैच जिताया उन्होंने
कल की प्रेडिक्शन ये है कि अगर एहसानुल्लाह और अब्बास अफरीदी चल गए तो लाहौर का जीतना मुश्किल है
मुल्तान सुल्तान के साथ लाहौर कलंदर का मैच है तो इंशाल्लाह ताला हम पिछली बार की तरह इस दफ़ा भी ज़रूर ट्रॉफी लेकर जाएंगे लाहौर लाहौर है
Lahore, Lahore hai. That's the last line that you guys heard. I'm sure the fans are absolutely elated because they come back tomorrow for the final. But we're talking about this game. It was action-packed and lots of masala as well. It's time for the masaladar moments of the match.
Well, emotions are always involved when you got a quick bowler, and it's really nice to see them face up when they do pick up the wicket. It was Amir Jamal with that celebration when he picked up the wicket of Tahir Beg into his eyes, and a bit of a send-off as well.
Do we have time for the chat?
Yeah, plenty of emotions.
Yeah, we do have time for a chat, Rooj and Boj. We do have time for a chat. Just checking there, right? Because we love chatting.
Of course we do.
Always best to check.
Always best to check. Right, Butch, considering this is your last game today, what's been the highlight of your tournament?
Wow. Well, I didn't get to Karachi, obviously, so, you know, obviously it would have been my favourite spot. But so
that's it. End the show. We can end the show right now. Thank you very much for watching.
I didn't get there this time. I mean, listen, we started in Multan, which was magnificent. It was great to see the PSL get to Multan and see the crowds pour in there the whole time. We were wonderfully well looked after. Then, you know, back to Lahore, Islamabad, that little leg was magnificent, wasn't it? We saw records breaking everywhere. The bowlers weren't so happy, but the crowds were going home with big smiles on their faces. And everywhere I've been, and all the people that I've met have been just wonderfully hospitable, and have taken very good care of us. It's been terrific. And, you know, finish up in Lahore. I've always had a soft spot for Lahore. Because you know I'm a big creep, and I want you to be nice to me. So Lahore has been my favourite spot of the entire thing.
Nice one.
Thank you very much. Thank
Diplomatic
you.
guy who knows what to say where and at what occasion. But thank you so much, Butch. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for being here and, you know, covering Pakistan cricket, and obviously all the laughs have been the best part of this tournament. Arooj, you're still here, you're not going anywhere, but we've got a big one tomorrow. It is Lahore versus Multan. Parting thoughts?
I think normally we see finals become one-sided. All I want is really hope for a really good final. It's obviously the two best teams, the Multan Sultans, they take on Lahore Qalandars. I just feel Lahore Qalandars have their noses in front because it's at the Gaddafi Stadium.
Well, I think that was a really neutral point of view by Arooj. She had to swallow hard to really put Lahore forward in that one. But are you just talking about the momentum there in all seriousness because they've won today?
I think so. And I think it took a little bit of smart, calculated cricket, which came from their experienced campaigners. And I think that just gives them a little bit of self-belief, and that takes that 4 out of 4 batting second out of the equation. And a really good time to do it in a knockout game, and they go into the final. So I just feel with that bowling attack, and if they can sort of get runs up front, everything will fall into place for them.
All right. Thank you so much to both of you. It's been a pleasure having you in the Pitchside show. And of course, tomorrow is the last day that we'll be seeing you, all of you. And I'm sure you'll all be tuned in because it is the grand finale. Lahore Qalandars are taking on Multan Sultans, which is going to be a repeat of last year's final. Let's see who the winner is going to be. It's been great bringing you the game today. A fascinating contest altogether. We'll leave you with the super moments of the day.
नहीं थी जीत मैदान में, गड़ी थी वो पहचान में, जिसने हीरे अनमोल ढूंढे थे